Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Thursday the 19th of June and this is an educational video only. There's no recommendation or advice intended whatsoever. We'll start with S&P 500 that closed slightly lower, but nothing to talk about. There is support around 5,963. But more importantly, 5,921. That is the key support. Close below that, then we are in for a correction that could take down to test this gap area here, gap support area 5,767 and 5,685 area. So that would be really strong support. It is not unlikely we could see a dip to that. Just very brief. The Dow Jones just in the sideways range, but let's move on to Nasdaq 100 that closed unchanged, but the key support here 21,475. You can see it touched it there, close below there. As you can see how many there's so many points around this level that will be really be key. And here pre-market we are dipping a little bit. 21,430 on the US Nasdaq 100 / the future. That is key. A break below that could mean we are in for a larger correction, a lower below 21,000. Moving on to Asia and Hang Seng hit by a sell-off this morning. We talked about the risk yesterday. It could happen. It actually went down below the 61.8. Could dip to 786, maybe even down to the really strong support here at 22,668. Around this level here, we have the 100 coming up. We have the 55 flat here, so that would be really strong support. RSI still above 40 threshold, could bounce from it, so keep an eye on that. Just looking at the CFD continuing to slide lower, so it's a larger correction going on in Hang Seng. In Nikkei setback after it closed above the peak here, still in a bullish trend, but it is struggling to gain momentum towards 40,000. There's still potential. We still have a higher high, higher low, higher high, but it is struggling quite a bit at the moment. So let's see here how the next 2 days will it break back below the rising trend line there, and will it slide back below 38,000. I'm not quite sure about. We have the 200 moving average coming up there giving some support, so I think eventually it will crawl a little bit higher. European markets, EUROStoxx50 closed below support of 5,285. There's a great risk that it could test the 55 moving average and the 5,228 support, and maybe also dip lower. RSI flirting with the 40 threshold. So let's see what's going on here. Pre-market, it is actually continuing to sell, and 5,209 support here is likely to be tested within a few. Well, early in the early session here, RSI negative sentiment. So at the moment, so if it does close below, there's a great likelihood it could do. Well, then there's further downside to around 5,100, and the 200 moving average DAX closed more or less smack bang, or maybe a few cents below the support here, 23,350 and 15. And pre-market we can see it's actually selling lower, and I think we could see a sell-off down to 22,849 or 50 support here, where we have the 55 moving average coming up, also the 100. Currently RSI below 40 threshold. I think we could see a DAX down to at least that level here in the towards the weekend. On the FX side, euro dollar sliding lower, testing the rising trend line here. Could dip lower throughout the day to the 38.2 retracement at 114.15, possibly dipping a little bit lower. It is not a strong support or anything, maybe a bounce there, but keep an eye on that. If it starts taking out 114, then I think we could see it down to 112.80, which is the 61.8 retracement of this uptrend there. So we are in for a little bit of a setback here. The uptrend seems to be pausing, and correction is unfolding. The sterling dollar taking out support at 134.15. I think it will dip down to the 61.8 at 133.28, 133.25, where we have the 55 moving average coming up, and I think we could see a bounce from there. So it took some time to break out the range, but now it did it to the downside. Euro sterling, I still think we will see it crawling higher towards 61.8 retracement, just below 86, but stalling a little bit at the moment is of course the euro that is playing in there. So there's a little bit ballad going on there. Could see a little bit of setback before I think it will push higher. Yen pairs, dollar yen, not really doing much. Minor resistance 145.50. If it's broken, then we could be looking at 146.30 resistance. RSI still here below 60 threshold. So will it turn around? It could do that. And if it takes out 146.30, well, then there's a further upside potential towards 148.60. If sliding back, well, then we are looking at 142 again. But for now, it seems like it's turning around a bit there. Euro yen setting back. Couldn't get all the way up to 161.8. It was almost there. 161.8 projection at 167.75, but it was almost there. Now setting back, and we could see a setback to the 38.2 retracement and the previous peak here that is now support just around 165.20, 165.10. Aussie yen got rejected there a few days ago once again. We talked about it yesterday, and we could see it sliding back to the 93 level. If it takes out the peak up there at 94.85, well, then it will be looking at 95.75. And sterling yen, well, testing the lower rising trend line there, dip below. If it takes out the lows there, and let's just add a horizontal line to give us a little bit of guidance. If it takes out 193.75, well, then it could dip lower to the 192.70, possibly down to 192 area. It was a fierce rejection there, I must say. So it's a little bit on a limbo. Aussie dollar testing lower rising trend line. I could break it. If it does, then I think we'll see a setback to around 64, where we have the 55 moving average coming up, and 200 still declining, but slowly turning around. I think it will also add to the support. Then we have the 100 down here. So we could see it dip to around 64 and then a bounce. But the strong resistance 65.50 should of course still be observed. And we talked about the dollar Canada bouncing and is now trading around the 38.2 retracement. Can it continue higher or will be rejected? It is not unlikely it could bounce up to the 61.8 strong resistance area, and around here 138.35.40. And if it does, then I think we'll see a setback again. But let's see here next. If it starts moving above 137.50, then I think we'll see it up to that level there. Otherwise, we could slide back. We're still negative sentiment. There's no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely lower levels. Sterling Canada dancing around the 100 moving average, and the 786 retracement could bounce from here and crawl back above 185. The RSI actually did dip below, just below the 40 threshold, but it could be also being a rejection. It's marginally so, and since it's FX, then it's a little bit less significant. If it starts trading back above the 55 moving average, then I think we will see it crawling above the 185 level. Swiss franc, Euro Swiss still a sideways range, so I'm not going to talk much about it. It is still the 94.50 and 93 to the downside. The dollar Swiss bouncing. We had this bottom reversal pattern which we talked about. There was divergence on the RSI. It's now bouncing and testing 38.2 retracement. It looks a bit like dollar Canada actually. 82.50, there's some resistance, could be rejected there if it moves a little bit higher. We also have the 55 moving average coming down. However, if it breaks above then there is room up to the 61.8 retracement at 83.15, and the spike up there at 83.5, just around that level. But it will, I think it will just be a spike and then a setback. I don't think it will stay up there. Then we have a completely different situation. So let's see here the next day or two what it can do. Can it actually break higher? And finally, on the dollar index, also bouncing and testing the falling trend line there. Could break higher to the 98.98. That's the 38.2 retracement. Resistance here at 99.34. Stronger resistance. If it breaks above that, well, then we are looking at 100 level and the 61.8 retracement. Gold oil selling back, testing the very short-term rising trend line there. We had this barrier engulfing. We talked about the past few days, a top and reversal pattern, which is a little bit unusual on the FX side, but still, nevertheless, we have it here. Excuse me. RSI is still in a positive sentiment, but there is divergence, so uptrend exhaustion is indicated. If it takes out the top of the bearish engulfing, well, then we are looking at 3,500 plus, but for now we are in a correction phase, and the RSI testing its falling trend line there, so that it broke above and now it's back to test from the other side. If it bounces, well, then we could see uptrend resuming. However, if taking out the rising trend line there, well, then we could see it dipping down to around 3,300, just below here, where we have some support, and we also have the 55 moving average adding that to support. The silver couldn't follow through all the way up to 138 to projection at 37.43. I actually expected to spike a little bit higher, but it's also setting back now. Let's see, do we have divergence here? We have 72.76 and we have 73.39. So there is actually divergence on the RSI. Quite interestingly, you see here the peaks are declining while market moved higher. So I think we could maybe be in a limbo here in this range here between 36 and 37 for a while. Platinum spiked higher to 1,350, and it actually spiked above its peak back from February 2021, and now I think we could be in for a correction. And what I will do, you see it actually spiked just a little bit above the 138 projection. So what I'll do, okay, if I'm trading this, really trading it, I'm not trading it, but if I was, then I would add Fibonacci to this leg up there and say, okay, I will remove this. There's a little bit of noise now. 1298 is quite likely and very close, but I think we could see it setting back to 1265, which is 61.8 retracement, and it's not unlikely we slide back all to down to 786 retracement, 1242. If it takes out the peak here at 1,351, well, then we have a 1,400 in the eyeing 1,400. Copper still this range behavior here without a cleared resistance level, so still humming away. I think eventually it will crawl higher, but it needs to stay above 464 to do that. We are in a slight upturn, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher high, higher low. And will we make a new higher high? That is debatable at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on it. If it starts suddenly moving above 495, then we could see that bullish scenario unfold. On the energy side, still a lot of anxiety in the energy market. We could see it pushing higher above 77.60. Now there's a little bit divergence here on the RSI. But if panic again hits the market, if the situation in the Middle East escalates, then we could see oil push higher, crude oil to 85 level. Otherwise, we could be caught range bound a little bit, or let's remove this one, and maybe a setback further to the 70 level and the 200 moving average. Brent crude oil, same picture really. Let's remove this one. It reached the target. The 82.5, maybe 85 could come into play if another panic move and the situation escalates. So be very cautious if you're trading the oil market or energy market here. Key strong support here at 70.5. The European nat gas, and let's just resize the chart there. Nat gas rejected at the 100 moving average and the 40 spot 15 resistance, setting back a little bit, but behind a positive sentiment bullish trend. Could push higher if it takes out the peak from yesterday at 442, 42. Well, then we could see it pushing higher towards 42.5, maybe even all the way up to 44. US nat gas also pushed higher. Let's just move this a little bit, and I think we could see it hitting 412, 425 fairly soon. Positive sentiment, we haven't seen that in a long time. Established a bullish trend, so indicating higher levels towards 4.25. Moving on to the yields market, despite FOMC rate decision yesterday, there wasn't really much. There was a lot of volatility in today, but really didn't move anywhere. So it's still 430, 452 range. Same with the 2-year, didn't really do anything, so still caught this range bounce behavior. And moving on to the European yields, setting back a little bit, but we are in a bearish trend anyway, and key support down here at 240, 242, that should be observed. I think we could be range bound between 240 and 260 for quite some time. So only if we get above 260 that we could see a push higher towards 270, but it's not really in the card at the moment. Also UK 10-year that got rejected there at 460, setting back, and could dip lower to 440 area. Moving on to Bitcoin, that is not really doing much, still above the 55 moving average. Sideways dancing, supported just around 100,000, that should be observed. Let's see if it could be tested. There's still positive sentiment. There's actually no divergence or anything indicating we are likely to see high levels on Bitcoin, but we really need to get it back above 112, and first clue could get it back above 110, 650. Ethereum, really much the same story, just dancing sideways here. Also positive sentiment indicating we could see a push higher, but for now it's just really not much interest. And if we see a larger correction on the equities market, maybe that could also put the cryptos under pressure. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again later.